All right, today we're going to talk about the future of our energy grid. We're talking about a future that's powered by the wind and the sun. But making that a reality isn't as simple as just building more wind turbines. It's about making our entire grid, well, smarter. Let's get into it. So, take a look at this. This isn't some sci-fi movie concept art. Nope, this is the actual blueprint for a fossil-free energy system. You've got wind turbines, solar panels, electric cars, smart homes, everything connected, everything talking to each other. It's an incredible vision for sure, but it also comes with a really, really big challenge.
And that challenge? Well, that brings us right to the heart of the problem we have to solve. I'm talking about the green power dilemma.
Okay, so here's the catch. With a traditional power plant, say coal or gas, you can just flip a switch and get more power. Simple. But you can't do that with the sun or the wind, right? Their energy goes up and down, it fluctuates constantly. The problem is, our grid demands a perfect balance between supply and demand, like down to the second. If that balance is off by even a tiny bit, you risk major blackouts.
This is a total game changer. I mean, the old grid was easy. If we needed more power, we just burned more fuel. Production always followed our demand. But this new grid, it completely flips that script. With renewables, production is all over the place. So that means our demand has to become flexible. We have to learn to use power when it's green and when it's available.
So how in the world do you manage this kind of controlled chaos? The answer isn't just about building more stuff. It's about building something way more advanced. We need a smart grid.
And a smart grid is so much more than just power lines. Think of it like a two-way street for both energy and information. It uses digital tech to coordinate absolutely everything, from a massive wind farm all the way down to the thermostat in your house. And what this does is it turns us, you and me, from just passive consumers into active players in the game, helping balance the grid in real time.
But for a grid to be genuinely smart, it needs a brain. It has to be able to think ahead, to plan, and to adapt on the fly. And all of that, comes down to one thing, the art of prediction.
Which kind of begs the question, right? How do you control a massive, complex system that's built on resources you can't really predict, like the sun and the wind? Well, the answer is you get really, really good at forecasting what's going to happen next.
The secret sauce here is a technology called Model Predictive Control, or MPC. The best way to think about it is like a chess grandmaster. A grandmaster doesn't just react to your last move. No way. They're thinking 10 moves ahead, predicting all the possibilities to figure out the absolute best move to make right now. That's exactly what MPC does for the grid.
And it does this in a constant loop. It's pretty cool. First, it creates a digital twin, basically a perfect virtual copy of, say, a building's heating system. Then it feeds that model with all the latest forecasts, weather, electricity prices, you name it. Third, it optimizes, running thousands of simulations to find the cheapest, most efficient plan. But here's the key. It only actually does the very first step of that plan, and then boom, it instantly starts the whole process over, with fresh data, constantly learning and re-optimizing.
Now, I know this might sound a little abstract, but this technology, MPC, it's already being used to turn things we use every single day into powerful tools for the grid. I'm talking about everything from our homes to our highways.
Okay, think about the heating in your house. A heat pump controlled by MPC can look at the forecast and see, hey, it's going to be super windy and electricity will be cheap tonight at 2 a.m. So it cranks itself up, heating the concrete floor of your house. That floor then basically becomes a giant thermal battery, slowly releasing that stored heat all day long. You stay warm, and you used the cheapest, greenest energy possible to do it.
And the exact same idea applies to electric cars. Instead of everyone getting home at 6 p.m., plugging in their car, and totally overwhelming the local grid, MPC can be the traffic cop. It intelligently schedules when each car should charge, staggering them throughout the night to soak up all that extra renewable energy. It literally turns thousands of EVs into one massive, shared battery.
So we've got these smart devices, which is great, but the real magic, the real power, happens when you connect them all together and scale that intelligence way, way up.
And this is where a new kind of company, called an aggregator, comes into play. See, one smart thermostat doesn't really matter to the huge grid operator. It's too small. But an aggregator, it pools together the flexibility from thousands of those thermostats and EVs. It acts like a coordinator, going to the grid and saying, hey, I can offer you 50 megawatts of flexible power, which is really just the combined muscle of all the little devices it's controlling. It's in effect a virtual power plant.
And we are talking about incredible scale here. Just imagine it. Tens of thousands of homes, electric cars, businesses, all being orchestrated by one of these aggregators' MPC algorithms. They start to act like a single massive unit, shifting when they use power in real time to perfectly match the ups and downs of wind and solar.
When you step back, what we're really seeing is a complete 180 on a century of how we've thought about energy. It's a fundamental shift away from the old model, producing power to meet our every whim, to a new, way smarter model where our demand learns to follow the supply of green energy.
And that leaves us with a pretty wild final thought. We've always pictured power plants as these huge, centralized buildings out in the middle of nowhere. But what if, in this new smart grid, what if the power plants of the future aren't buildings at all? What if they're the combined, coordinated intelligence of our own homes, our cars, and our communities?